Welcome to Frost Astrophotography. It's -3 degrees outside and I'm just checking my observatory for this evening when the forecast says a clear night. I'm going to configure the acquisition of NGC 7822, also known but not commonly as the Teddybear Nebula. I'm going to connect to my observatory computer, starting N.I.N.A, and I'm going to connect to my equipment right now. It's about -3 or 6 degrees Celsius outside, so I'm going to cool my camera to -10 degrees. So I'm entering 10 here, and I'm clicking the cooling button. That will start to cool. While we wait for the camera to cool, I'm going to check out the framing wizard here. Type in NGC 7822, and I'm going to load that image. And I'm going to select my framing here. Something like that. I'm then going to add this target to a sequence. And I'm going to select the simple sequencer because I don't really need the advanced options right now. First of all, I'm going to add my frames, and I want to have light frames, let's say 25 of each. And I'm using bin 2 on my camera, and also want to do dithering since I use 5-minute exposures. Add extra rows for the other filters and select O3 and S2. That will give me 6 hours, so I'm gonna bump this up to 30 for each filter. That will give me roughly 8 hours worth of exposures, and I can start imaging at around 5:30 later today. I also want to slew to the target, center the target, and start guiding, as well as autofocus on at start and on filter change. And I can also select that I want a new autofocus if the HFR value increase more than 10%. I'm not going to have to worry about a meridian flip for this session because the transit of the meridian due north occurs earlier at about 5 p.m. I would say. So I have the whole evening and night clear for me, but I'm having this set to on anyway, so I don't forget it on other targets. Good to know that what you type in here as a target name, that is used in the file names later on for your light frames. But since I imported this from the framing assistant, I don't need to worry about manually entering a name here. Now this is prepared. All I need to do now is to click start here whenever I am ready to start imaging and I have opened my observatory. We are a couple of days after the acquisition of the light frames that we just programmed. I had to add to the light frames because I had some bad frames and ended up with about 30 frames of each filter at around 7 hours of total integration time. The stacked master files for each filter ended up looking like this. As you can see, the master HA here, most of the data is here. The master S2 have some good data in here as well. And the master O3. Not so much O3 data in this target, but some in the middle. I also had some problems with light pollution, I would say. Maybe the moon was too close to this target for the O3 filter, but I had to work around that in the processing. Moving forward with this presentation, this is not going to be a tutorial, so to speak, but I will present the steps that I took, and I will show you for one of the filters in the first part here of the linear processing. So I'm going to open up some frames here to show you. So I'm going to minimize these first to just show you the steps that I made. So the first step in any processing, I would say, is to do a dynamic crop. You crop out the edges of the frame to make it the same size between all filters, because you might get some stacking artifacts or the frames might move around a bit depending on how many sessions you need to do. Next step was to do a dynamic background extraction. So I extracted the background, but as you can see here, the most of the image is filled with nebulosity, so there's not much background to actually extract. I did a linear fit, and you cannot see that here because I actually used the HA as a reference frame to fit the O3 and S2, so there's no change in this one. After this, I ran the blur exterminator that is so popular these days, and that actually sharpened the stars here, as you can see. Also, a lot of the details were sharpened in this image. And after that, I also ran the noise exterminator. And you can see here that we removed a lot of the noise in this image. Comparing the two here, you can see that there's almost no noise whatsoever in this left image compared to the right first one. So now I'm left with 3 images processed in the linear phase, and after that I did a manual stretch of all 3 of the filters. Moving in now to the nonlinear phase. So after manual stretching, this is the HA, and I ran the star exterminator to make a starless version of the HA frame, master frame. I did the same for O3 and a starless version of that. And finally, the same for the S2 and a starless version of that. This is the first combination, and you can see the problems that I was talking about, because there was some severe light pollution or something going on with the O3 filter that I'm not liking at all. So I actually ended up doing some SCNR adjustments, removing green and inverting that to remove some of the magenta going on here. I also made 2 color masks here, one for cyan and one for yellow, that enabled me to manipulate the red and blue tones in this image without touching any of the other colors. So after playing with those settings back and forth, I ended up with an image looking something like that. And I have adjusted some of the outer edges here that I did not want to have blue, because there is no O3 there that I know of. And it's not perfect, but I ended up with this result. After that, I did some sharpening using the unsharp mask and the multiscale linear transformation tool. I also made some denoising with the TGV denoise. I don't know if you can see the difference here. Going to zoom in on an area here before and after. You can see, you might see it or you might not see it. There is a slight difference between the left and right in terms of noise in this image. All of the changes with these processes is very subtle. I'm not using any aggressive settings. I did some dark structure enhancement to really make some of the areas with dark in them pop out a bit. I really like the dark structure enhancement. And then I also made some final adjustments, again to the outer edges. I'm not happy with that whatsoever, but there's nothing much I can do about that at this stage other than redoing all of the O3 frames. I might do that to revisit this at a later date. So I actually saved the HA stars, and I've not made them any smaller because they are fine after doing the blur exterminator, I would say. So then I combined the stars here with the starless image that you see, and also made some final adjustments to the image. And starting with the left one, I ended up with this image to the right here. I'm going to enlarge it for you. So this is the final result. My interpretation of an SHO image, NGC 7822 also known but not commonly as the Teddybear Nebula. Due to the fact that some might argue that the middle part here can, in some rotation, resemble the mouth or nose of a teddy bear. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you like it, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. If you want to support me and the work with these videos, there is an option listed in the video description that you can use. Until the next video, I wish you have clear skies.